Let's look at subagents gave Claude Code isolated workforce. Before Claude reaches outside your repo, remember the last module. Part 6 was about keeping delegated work isolated, reviewable, and clean. Think of a subagent like a consultant in a separate room. That setup prevents context pollution because the main chat only gets the finished answer back. Now I'd get safety to that picture. A worktree gives the helper its own branch, so your main files stay untouched until you review the diff. When one helper is not enough, you move from parent-child delegation to teammates. Agent teams trade simplicity for coordinated parallel work through a shared mailbox. We need 3 simple ideas before any commands make sense. Think of this as learning the parts of an adapter before you plug it in. Think of an API as the menu between 2 programs. Claude asks for something, and the other service answers in a format it supports. Now zoom out. A protocol is the shared rulebook for that exchange, so every side knows how messages should look and behave. An MCP server is the interpreter in the middle. It turns Claude's request into the service's API call, then carries the answer back. And once the bridge exists, the next question is where that bridge lives. This matters because connection shape changes deployment, speed, and safety. Think of stdio like plugging a tool directly into your desk. It runs locally as a subprocess, so it is the common choice for local utilities. HTTP is the remote version of that setup. Claude connects to a URL, which is why HTTP is the recommended transport for remote servers. WS is for conversations that stay open. Use WebSocket when you need persistent bidirectional connections instead of quick request response hops. SSE is the old one-way broadcast lane. It is deprecated now, so new servers should use HTTP instead. Think of MCP as a universal translator at the United Nations. Each service speaks a different API dialect, but Claude should not learn every dialect from scratch. The translator stands in the middle and converts each delegate's language into one standard protocol Claude understands. That is why MCP scales cleanly across GitHub, Notion, Slack, and databases. Now let's follow one real request through the pipe. The payoff here is seeing that natural language still ends in a very exact tool call. Start with the concrete request. You type list my open pull requests, and Claude understands the job before you touch any /syntax. Next, Claude maps that sentence to the right tool. The GitHub MCP server exposes list_PRS, so the request moves through the protocol bridge. Then the answer comes back in reverse. GitHub API returns the data. The MCP server translates it, and Claude reports the result in plain language. Then think of this choice like deciding between a notebook and a live dashboard. If the data rarely changes and lives in project rules, memory like Claude.md is the right home. If the data is external or changes frequently, MCP is the right tool. Without this split, you either store stale facts or waste context on live data that should stay outside the chat. Once you choose MCP, you still have to choose who gets the server definition. This matters because scope decides sharing and approval behavior. Local is the personal lane. It lives in ~/.claude.json, stays with you, and needs no extra approval. Project scope is the team lane. It lives in .mcp.json, travels through Git, and asks for approval on first use. User scope is broader than local but still personal. It also lives in ~/.claude.json, then follows you across all projects. Now we move from concept to setup. Adding a server is simple, but each parameter matters because it defines how Claude reaches the outside system. Start with the connection target. Use HTTP for a remote URL, stdio for a local subprocess, and environment vars when the server needs credentials or connection strings. Then name the server clearly. That label becomes the identifier Claude uses when it decides which MCP tool to call. Next, pass environment vars instead of hard-coding secrets. That keeps tokens and database URLs out of committed config. Finally, restart Claude Code so the new definition loads. A good config does nothing until the session picks it up. Here is the scaling problem beginners do not see at first. Direct MCP tool calls can dump huge transcripts back into context, which bloats the conversation fast. The fix is to let code execution call the tools, keep the raw data inside the sandbox, and return only the final result. That pattern is why large transfers can drop context cost by about 98.7%. Those large transfers force one more practical rule. Claude Code sets output thresholds because one oversized response can wreck the whole working window. At 10,000 tokens, you get a warning. The work continues, but Claude is telling you the response is already getting expensive. At 25,000 tokens, output is truncated. You can change that with max_MCP_output_tokens, but you still need a filtering strategy. At 50,000 characters, the result is persisted to disk instead of living in context. That keeps the session usable. Think of step 1 like testing a new cable before a live demo. You add the GitHub server, restart, and then run /mcp to see what is connected. One server shows up connected with tools, and another can show disconnected if an environment var like database_URL is missing. That quick check prevents confusing failures later. Now that the server is live, the nice part starts. You can ask for real data in plain English instead of memorizing tool names. The first step is just the request. Say list my open pull requests, and Claude understands the job without any extra syntax. Then Claude chooses the right tool under the hood. That is the protocol benefit. You speak intent, and the bridge selects the correct operation. The result comes back as readable language, not raw JSON. You stay in one conversation style, even though a tool ran underneath. In this example, Claude calls the GitHub list pull requests MCP tool, then returns 3 open pull requests. That is the full loop working as designed. Let's look at step 3, direct/commands. Plain English is great for discovery, but exact commands are better when you want repeatable control. This is where /calls earn their keep. Use the list pull requests /command when you want the GitHub queue directly. No routing guesswork, just the exact operation. Use getIssue42 when you know the entry already. Exact identifiers beat descriptive prose every time. Use createIssue when you need precise parameters. Title and body become explicit inputs, not inferred intent. Think of project-level MCP config like a shared power strip in the repo root. .mcp.json gives every teammate the same GitHub server and Postgres server definitions. env vars still hold the secrets, while the database URL fallback syntax provides a default local value when the environment variable is unset. That is the right balance: committed structure, uncommitted credentials. Sometimes the safest server is one the parent chat never even sees. That matters when only one helper needs database access. Here, the Data Explorer agent gets an analytics database connection and nothing else. That is least privilege in a very concrete form. Because the server is scoped to the subagent, the main conversation stays cleaner. Global tool descriptions do not pile into the parent context. This example also shows remote access done safely. The agent uses type HTTP with a full URL, which fits an internal server better than a local subprocess. Before we wrap this up, we need the failure modes. These are the mistakes that make MCP feel messy, slow, or risky. Never hardcode API tokens in .mcp.json. That leaks secrets into Git history, and Git history is much harder to clean than one local shell variable. Do not connect to dozens of MCP servers simultaneously. Tool descriptions eat context, so load only what you need or rely on tool search. Do not grant write access when read-only suffices. Least privilege matters here because live tools can touch real systems. Do not ignore MCP output limits. Large responses get truncated or persisted, so filter at the source or switch to code execution. Do not skip testing MCP connections before use. Run /MCP first, or you will debug phantom problems that are really just broken setup. Do not build new servers on SSE. It is deprecated, so choose HTTP for fresh remote integrations. Let's look at operational checklist. Here is the compact operating checklist. These are the 5 rules that keep the whole protocol understandable once the details start blurring together. First, remember the big picture. MCP is a standard protocol, so Claude learns one interface, while servers translate each service-specific API. Second, pick transport by deployment shape. Use HTTP for remote servers, stdio for local tools, WS for persistent connections, and avoid new SSE work. Third, choose scope deliberately. Local is just you, project is shared through .mcp.json, and user scope follows you across projects. Fourth, keep secrets in environment vars. Config can be committed, but credentials should stay outside the repo. Fifth, remember the direct command form. /mcp server tool is the exact path when you want repeatable, explicit tool calls. Let's make those / calls stick with a small memory trick. Think of these as 3 verbs you can reach for on demand. List is the broad view. Use the list pull requests command when you want the current queue without extra explanation. Git is the lookup view. Use getIssue42 when you already know the exact entry you need. Create is the action view. Use createIssue when you want to send a precise title and body payload to GitHub. Those 3 patterns cover most first-day MCP work: list, get, and create. Once you see the naming pattern, new tools become easier to predict. Stay with natural language while you are exploring. It keeps momentum high when you still care more about the answer than the exact tool name. Switch to /commands when you need repeatability. The command itself becomes documentation for the workflow you are teaching or automating. Transport choice becomes much easier when you translate it into deployment shape. Instead of memorizing labels, ask where the server actually lives. If the server lives beside you on the same machine, stdio is the straightforward fit. Claude launches the tool as a subprocess. If the server lives elsewhere, use HTTP. That is the normal choice for remote production services. If the connection needs to stay open both ways, WS is the specialist option. It is for persistent bidirectional traffic. SSE is the lane to leave behind. It worked for streamed events, but new servers should use HTTP instead. For remote tools with real accounts, think of OAuth as a valet key. Claude gets limited access without you handing over the full password. One last scaling lesson. The protocol is not the expensive part. Context is the expensive part, so keep live data from flooding the chat. The biggest win is returning only the final result from code execution. That is where the 98.7% reduction comes from. Tool search kicks in when tool descriptions exceed about 10% of context. That keeps a crowded tool catalog from burying the real task. Very large responses do not belong in the conversation window. Persist them to disk or filter them server-side before Claude ever has to narrate them. Think of this as the protocol looping back on itself. Claude usually acts like the client that connects to external tools and data. But Claude itself can also act as an MCP server through Claude MCP serve, which means another client can call into Claude through the same standard interface. That is the deeper takeaway. MCP is a two-way contract, not just a one-way adapter. Now we can collapse the whole module into one decision tree. Start with the kind of data you have, then choose the simplest path that preserves context. Use memory when the knowledge is stable and project-specific. Claude.md is better for fixed rules than a live tool call. Use MCP when the data is external and current. GitHub, Notion, Slack, and databases all fit that live API pattern. Add code execution when the response is huge. The best version of a big tool call is the one where Claude only sees the final result. We connected Claude to outside systems in this module. The next step is teaching Claude when to react automatically to events inside its own workflow. Pre-tool use is the before gate. Think of it like a security checkpoint that can inspect a tool call before it runs. Post-tool use is the after gate. That is where formatting, logging, and follow-up checks happen once the tool succeeds. Exit codes control whether the system moves or stops. Exit 0 continues, and exit 2 blocks the action entirely. That is why hooks matter next. They turn Claude Code into event-driven automation instead of a tool you must supervise step by step.